Hey guys, this is TJPlaysNow, and today we are back with another Let's Learn How to Code a Minecraft plugin. I really haven't gotten down the name, but we are learning, once again, some more stuff on coding a plugin. Last time, we learned how to go ahead and set our workspace up, and go ahead and do all that, set our server up, so that way we can test out the plugin that we make, and just learn basics about that stuff. We also learned Logger, just very shortly, but I'm going to go over Logger here just a tiny bit more in depth here for a second. As well, we are going to today learn how all of the events inside of, say, PluginMain are going to work. Now, the first thing, after I teach this, we're going to go ahead and teach Logger. So, basically, Logger is a very simple, but at the same time not so simple thing. Java has a logging system, and originally, if a file does not change this, it would log to, it's not actually here, but there would be a console window in this thing right down here. I don't see a thing for it, but there's usually a console window down there, and that would be where you print to the logger and whatnot. But here, we use Logger to equal the server logger. Minecraft uses the Java pre-logger thingy, I don't know how you'd call it, and it just builds off, and bucket.getLogger would get the server's logger. So that's how that works. And then you can just go over here and type in logger and do all of the same things that Java's magical stuff has, and it's going to take a second, and there we have it. We have all of that stuff, but we do not need to mess with logger anymore, because we're not going to use it right now. Now, the next thing we are going to do, so that way we can start learning how to code, we're going to be coding events and event listeners and events, and we're also going to code a command. We're also going to just code our own methods and show you guys just some simple things about how we do it all. So the first thing we're going to want to do is come up here right after PluginMain, after extends, and after Java plugin. We're going to press space right after Java plugin and type in implements and capital L listener, just like that. Alright, now we're going to hover over that and import listener org.bucket.event. Alright, control save, so that way we can not waste so much time. And we're going to come down here and press a couple of enter buttons. So I think the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is learn how to do the on command really quickly. I always put the on command at the very end of my plugin. I don't know, it's just a convention that I've used, and I feel like there are a couple other coders that might do this, but the first thing we're going to want to go ahead and do is type an @override, so that way we override the bucket default method. Then we're going to go ahead and come down to the line below and type in public space boolean, and then on command within parentheses and an open squiggly bracket to be exact. Then we're going to come into these. There are a couple arguments we have to add for it to actually work. The first one is command sender, and we're just going to label this as sender. You could label it as whatever, but it's easier as sender. Then we have command, and this one we'll just label it as lowercase command. Then the next one we have is a string, and we will label this as label, actually. Then we have one more, and it is a string with an array list. Now, an array list is an interesting thing. When you want to make an array, a simple array list of an object, all you have to do is type that object with square brackets. And we're going to name this array list args. So that's going to be the arguments, and we must import command sender and command. Now, there is a faster way of importing, and okay, next thing we have to go ahead and do is press enter inside of this and return false. Alright, now we're good. It's all set up. There's a couple different ways to import things though, and I'm going to go ahead and show you this real quick. First thing we're going to do is start working inside of our on command, and we're going to type in an if and then an else, just like that. And then inside of this if, we are going to type in sender instance of, and then capital P for player. Alright, So now, instead of going ahead and importing it like this, all we're going to do is press Control, Shift, and O. And imported. And Control Save, and there we have it. So, now what we can go ahead and do is just say player, player, we'll call it player, equals sender, and then we also have to cast this to player, but we know for a fact that this is going to be a player, so there should not ever be any errors with that. And that's weird, my control button isn't working, but okay. So Control Save. My control button isn't working when I move my keys, that's what I mean. Might accidentally click a button, but we'll figure that out later. So now what we're going to want to go ahead and do is just go ahead and type in if, and not with that in there, and make ourselves a very nice and simple if thingy, and we're just going to type in label dot equals ignore case. And inside of this, we're going to want to go ahead and type in whatever we want the command to be. I'll just call this super cool, okay? Super cool, just like that. And we can go ahead and do player dot send message, no, send message, and then we'll just go with super cool. Alright, super cool. Now I'm gonna go over the player as a whole and what we can do with player, because player is a really cool thing. It does anything that the player thing would do. So player dot, and then you can see there's a huge list of different things, huge list. So just think of a random thing. If you wanted to teleport the player, just type in TEL and you'll go ahead and see maybe if it would type player.tel, and you can see there's a teleport with an entity, so you teleport it to an entity. There's a teleport location, there's a teleport entity and teleport cause, and there's even one for location, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff. There's a, okay, and sorry about that, someone was knocking at the door, but then just player has a whole bunch of different things. We could also say is whitelisted, player hopefully is whitelisted if they're doing the command, but we could say player.kick player, we could player.damage, and there's just so many different things. It's really easy to figure out what those things do, and we will learn a couple things with that later on, but for now, that is how you do most of the command. Alright, so now we're going to have to add this command into our plugin.yml first. So, all you have to do is come to your plugin.yml. We still have it open from last time. If you guys do not, just go ahead and make sure you right click and open with, and make sure you open it with the text editor, because that's just way easier. But we're going to go ahead and type in commands, colon, space, and then that command. Okay, then a colon, then space, and description. And then another colon, and this is where we can put a description. So, a magical cool command. Alright, so now we have a magical cool command. And we'll see that description if we type in /help space TUTE1 or /help space super cool, or yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only two ways you'd see it. So now that we have a way to do a command, we're also going to go ahead and test it for the console. So this side of it is all for players. All of this stuff inside of that if is for players. All of this stuff inside of this else is for the console. Now the reason that we have to have them separate is we can't do player.sendMessage to the console. What we're going to have to do is logger.info and then go ahead and type in super cool. Alright, and that would be how you do it for the console as well. If you want, say, a way to make it so the console is the only thing that can type in a command, that's how you do that. So now that we have commands out of the way, we're going to go over events. Now events are really interesting. There's so many different events, and we're not going to go over all of the events until we need to use them, but for now we're just going to go over a basic event. So first thing we have to do is type in @event capital handler. Just like that, capital E, capital H. And press enter, and then go ahead and do public void on player place block is the event we will do. And then on player place block, we're just going to go ahead and make a... Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to go ahead and do is type in PLA and then control and space. Now we have a huge list of different plugin stuff, so we're going to go ahead and do player. And I don't actually think it's player, I think it's just place. Or maybe, I think it's block. Player, we're just going to go through all of these events for a second. Unregistered channel, unleashed, toggle, teleport, swap, statistics, spawn, shear, selector, respawn, resource pack, status event, registered channel event, pre-login event. There's so many different events. We could do the login event, but I wanted to do player inventory. That's inventory. Player interact event. That is the event we are looking for, and we will go ahead and call this event, or you could just call it E if you really want to be really sort of cheaty. I like calling it event, so that way I know exactly what it is I'm dealing with. We also need to go ahead and import event handler. Now we're going to use our special little trick called Control-Shift-O and then Control-S. Alright, so now that we have this event, we're going to first want to set a player to equal event.getPlayer. Alright, now we have a player. The next thing we're going to want to do is event.get, and we're going to just want to get, no, wait. Okay, so we're going to want to do an if, and then inside of this if, just a couple things. So if event.get action is equal to action dot, let's do right click air and right click block. So in order to do both of these in the same thing, we're just going to do and then we can go ahead and come over here and copy all of this just like so, and control copy, and then come over here and control paste. But instead of air, we're going to type in block, just like that. And now, if the player right clicks the block or the air, and we'll just do if, and here is where we need to go ahead and get our next thing. We're going to call this this item, or this thing is going to be an item stack. So item stack, just like that, capital I, capital S, and we'll call this item in hand equals player dot get inventory dot get item in main hand. Alright, do not use get item in hand because that will soon not be a thing. So let's go ahead and just make sure we do dot get item in main hand, and the reason for that is if you do this, it's deprecated, and deprecated things are not good. It means that they're not going to be used soon and all this other stuff. So now we just need to import item stack. Make sure you import org.bucket.inventory. If we do it Control-Shift-O, it'll ask us. So just make sure you do the bucket one. And then inside of this if, we're going to do if item in hand dot equals, and here is where we are going to be stuck. We want to go ahead and make a new item, okay? And I do not want to have to do this inside of this really silly if. So what we're going to go ahead and do is come right down here, and we're going to make a new method. Now, we're learning about methods, and the reason that you want to use methods is because they're really cool. So what we want to do is go ahead and type in public void and any name you want. It could be potatoes for all we care, but we are going to call it create item check. And then inside of here, all we have to do is, we don't need to call anything, I don't think. No, we don't need to call anything. We just need to go ahead and we're doing this wrong. Okay, so this would be how you give a player an item. Like, we would have to put player right here. But we don't want to just give the player an item like that. That's sort of lame. That is a way to make a method, and then we'll go over that here in a second. But for now, we want to make it so we can make an item stack. So we're going to type in public item stack space and create item, and then just like this. Alright, so control save, and inside of create item, and we need to go ahead and return null for now. That won't be for that long. So first thing we're going to want to go ahead and do is item stack new, or no, item stack, we'll call it item, equals new item stack. Okay, then, but we want to go ahead and do material dot, and we'll just make this a simple apple. So material dot apple, and now it's actually working. It should have told us to add a thing. In a perfect world, it would have, but it didn't. So we could go ahead and do this like this and make it so it always creates a material apple. Or what we could do is go ahead and, because methods are super cool, they make it so you can have a thing at the top, which we would have material for whatever type of material we want, and we could just call it material. And then whenever we call this method, we would have to go ahead and make a material inside of there, and poof, now we have a new item stack. But we want to give that item a name now, right? Yeah, we do. So item dot get lore, no, not get item meta. I don't even know what I'm talking about. We're going to want to create a new item meta. So item meta space meta equals item dot get meta, just like that. Alright, then we need to go ahead and import item meta, and then now that we have this, we can go ahead and just type in meta dot set display name, and we could call it fish for all we want. Why not call it fish? But now we're saying we have the material changeable. Why don't we make this changeable as well? So we're gonna go ahead and do that. So we're gonna first thing type a comma right after the last material that we had, and we're going to type in string, and we will call this string display name, just like that. Alright, so then we can go ahead and control copy that display name, and what we can do is just delete what's in there and paste the display name. As simple as that, really cool. Then we're going to go ahead and do item.set meta, set item meta, and we can just call this meta and close it. And now it needs to return item. So, all done. Woohoo, we have our first simple thing. Now we're going to create another simple thing, way simpler than this. We're just going to make this send a message. So, we want to go ahead and do public void send message, and we're going to have to go ahead and grab a player. Alright, so that means when we call this, we have to input a player tag. We have to have a player to input to this to send a message to a player. So all we have to do is then go ahead and type in player.sendMessage, and it's as simple as doing what we did before. Send message, and we could have this any message we want. So we could just say the message we had before, and so now we don't have to call the very long, tedious, I sort of messed up. The very long, tedious thing. All we had to do is do a send message from right here, within parentheses, and type in player. So much easier. Then what we can also do is go ahead and put that send message right there too. But now what we want to go ahead and do is make it so this item in their main hand equals create item, and then parentheses behind that, and inside of those parentheses we do a material dot, and I thought we said apple. Did we say apple? I feel like we did. And then a comma with a space and a display name, and we will call this fish. Alright, so if the player clicks on this item, We are also going to then go ahead and give this player the item when they type in /supercool. So player send item get inventory add item and control paste the create item material.apple fish, and make sure you close that line off with a semicolon, and we should be good. Now what we can go ahead and do is make sure that this is all set up. It is, and make sure that all good on this one. We're going to go ahead and right click, go down to refresh, or you could just click F5 for easy access. As you saw when I click F5, there's a green bar that pops up down there. Then we're going to right click this, click export, and jar file, and code tutorial E1. And this is actually E2, so we will call it E2. And before we'll click finish, and then we need to come back to plugin.yml and change this to E2 as well, just because all that cool stuff. We're also changing the version to 2.0, although we really haven't changed that much. And yeah, alright, so another thing that we have to do, because we're changing this plugin, we have to go ahead and refactor, rename, and make sure that it is TUTE2 rather than E1, because if it wasn't, we would get a whole bunch of plugin errors. You cannot have a plugin with the same exact package source. Bad things happen. Make sure you always use a different plugin source. Always, this has to be different. So, make sure you control save, hit that F5 button over here, F5, and then export again. Next, finish, yes. Alright, so now we can come over here. We still have the server running from last time, but what we're going to have to go ahead and do is type in stop, and then we're going to have to go ahead and run the run.bat. Alright, so now that we are running this, we're going to see a couple amazing things happen, like absolutely nothing at first. We're also going to launch Minecraft so we can go join the server, and poof, all of that stuff happens, preparing the spawn area, nice and fast. We're going to click that play button, and enabling TUTE1 version. Oh, we left TUTE1 there. That is something that we should have removed. As well, the plugin was not placed in our thing because we exported it to the desktop. So let's go ahead and minimize that and move that there. Hit the delete button. Well, we are not actually going to delete this. We are moving this to the desktop from now on. We also have to stop the server yet again, because I forgot that we had to do that stuff with moving the stuff. But now we have run and enter and close that folder. Now we have Minecraft open, and we are ready to direct connect to localhost. Now hopefully as soon as that server finishes, all that stuff's happening, preparing the spawn area, and TUTE2 enabling TUTE2 version 2.0. Alright, so now we should be able to type in super cool right there, and it says super cool. That's amazing right there, am I right? Alright, but what we should also be able to do, oh, and just to make sure you guys can see this, when you type in super cool, it does not happen for the player. So if I say super cool, it only logs it to here. Amazing stuff. But now what we're going to go ahead and do is type in /super cool. And we got ourselves a fish, and it also says super cool. Now if we right click, was it left click? No, it was right click. And this is why we have to test things. When we go ahead and do this, is this the same exact material? Item in hand dot equals. Eesh, that's weird. Right click air. Oh, it has to be. Okay, what we did here is we did an and. We don't want it to be an and. We want it to be an or. Alright, so in order to do an or, right underneath your backspace button, it's usually a slash, but you're going to want to go ahead and click shift and press it twice. So you have two vertical arrows, or two vertical lines. I'm pretty sure they're vertical. Then we're going to want to go ahead and export, and next, and finish. And then it will export to the desktop. Now we have to go ahead and stop the server. And a thing that would be better is for us to just straight export it to the CodeTUT test server plugins. but for some reason, I guess I decided that's not what we're gonna go ahead and do. So now we can go ahead and click the run.bat again, and then close back out of that folder, because hopefully we will not have to use it again. Then we just come straight over here, and all this stuff happens. Hopefully this is the last time we have to prepare and load the server back up, and server is back up. Alright, so we join the server now, and hopefully we should still have the super cool fish. Right click, left click, right click, anything. Oh, okay, there's one last thing. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot this. So, we have to do one last thing up on unenable. Oh, I almost completely forgot this. But bucket.get, I think it's, we just gotta scroll down through here, get, plugin manager dot I'm pretty sure it's register events and then listener, which is this and this. Okay, so all you had to do is bucket.getPluginManager.register events, this. I can't believe I almost forgot that main thing. So that is now set up, and control save, and this time is the last time. What we're gonna do this time though is browse and go ahead and go to code qt test server, plugins, and save and finish, and yes. Now what we can, all we had to do is type in /reload, and plugin should reload properly if it just take a second to, oh, never mind, we had to do it here. There we go. Everything reloaded, and now right-clicking makes super cool happen. Now, that happens because we're clicking at both the ground and the air, I think. If I type in T, clicking straight at the ground happens twice, clicking at that happens twice, clicking at that happens once. I don't know why that happens. That happens because Minecraft is very weird, but you see, if we don't right-click with that apple, or say we right-click with any other object, such as this grasp, that dirt block, or we right-click this zombie with our hands, or punch with the fish, nothing happens at all. And now we can just go ahead and op ourselves, and /game mode creative. Alright, so that has been how to do things inside of your main plugin. Next time we're going to learn how to use separate classes and the benefit of using separate classes for things. It's so much easier, and we'll go into it in depth when we do it. So I hope you guys had an amazing time. I hope you learned some stuff, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.